Welcome to Okta Workflows online meetup. My name is Max. Now, well, several weeks ago, we hosted an in-person meetup in San Francisco. Um, and we wanted to repeat the same content with the same speakers so that people from anywhere in the world can watch, see the content. We will also record this. And so, if people can attend live, they'll be able to watch this and we'll publish this on our YouTube channel. Now, let me quickly introduce the speakers. So first, we're gonna have Pete. Pete is gonna talk about using workflows in Slack. Then Emily will tell you about what's coming up in workflows. What's on the roadmap. Then we have Michele is going to talk about workflows and anything as a source. And then Ajay is going to talk about OpenAI and workflows. Now, before I give them the stage, I have one other slide I want to share with you. And I just want to show you all the resources that we have available for workflows. So we have a lot of resources, sometimes they are in different places, but I wanted to just show you what we have. Now, I'm going to send the link once I'm done going over all the resources here. I'll send you a link into chat so you can actually click on these links. I will also send a message tomorrow with the recording and also a link as well, right? But I divided the resources into three different sort of buckets, and first one is the community. So we have a community forum, where you can ask questions and you can also share your flows. We have office hours, where you can weekly office hours that you can join and ask questions. Okta ideas, where you can uh, send sort of feature requests and also upvote on current ideas that are there. Online meetups, and so this is what we're doing now. We also have a meetup.com. Again, this is primarily for in-person events. Mac Admin Slack is a very active and popular workflows community. Then there is another Slack community called Okta Admins, and then there is a subreddit um, that people also ask questions and share resources. So again, a lot of community resources available. As for content, documentation, and I have release notes, so I would encourage you to check out the release notes. There is a lot of information in those release notes, what's new, what's been fixed. So again, I again encourage you to check that page frequently. And also, Emily posts the release notes on the forum as well, so you can go there. We have a lot of knowledge-based articles, again, a very large collection of various, how-tos about workflows. YouTube playlist, again, a lot of videos, I think over 190 videos. We have training from Okta. We have a workflows blog on the main Okta blog. There's this subcategory, and there's a imc.blog also. It's a sort of a community blog. Some people from Okta, some people from the community publishing about identity and workflows. And finally, kind of a no code. So there are a lot of templates that we have available, kind of pre-built flows that you can add and kind of start playing and configuring and breaking and so on. So a great way to learn. And also community templates. And I mentioned in the beginning, we encourage you to post your flows on the forum. If you build a solution, it's very likely that other folks will find it useful. So you can upload your flow with the short description of what it does. So yeah, community templates. So that's it for me. I am now going to Pete. Let me stop sharing. Yeah, Pete, the stage is yours.
Cool. Thanks, Max. Hello, everyone. My name is Pete Viri. I am a security engineer focusing on IAM or identity at Compass Real Estate. Some of you might have seen my talk on webcast about a year ago, which tackles the use case of using Okta Workflows and Slack to automate employee offboardings. We won't get that deep into and complicated in today's talk. So I prepared a little demo that would get you started in managing interactivity between Okta Workflows and Slack. This will be a generic flow that will let you hopefully give you a better understanding of how to craft interactivity between workflows and enable users to interact with your app on Slack. Well, let me just share my screen. Cool. So since this is a simple primer, there are only two flows that we're going to be talking about today. Button action event is the first one. It'll cover use cases where a Slack user clicks on a button within the Slack interface, and slash command event will handle any slash commands that are sent over to the app using a simple slash command in Slack. By the way, this flow pack is available on my GitHub, so feel free to download and play with it as you'd like. It should be linked in the invitation notes or email that you might have gotten. The flows we'll be looking at are part of an app called Dungeon Master, which is just a proof of concept app that'll help you get situated with interactivity. This app lets you start an encounter within a dungeon where you'll be facing an encounter and be given a variety of options on how you'd like to proceed. Let's start off with a slash command event. Cool. So for my app, this triggers when you call the slash encounter command with a required argument, which we'll talk about more later. You can see that I'm using the API endpoint card as an event. You can use the output. Sorry, you can use the output of the box. Sorry, you can use the out of the box command slash command card as well, which I'll show you in it right here. Slack also has a slash command part as well if you want to do it out of the box. There's not too much difference in how you go about it, but do know that some of the built out of the box Slack cards may have some limitations where you pretty much have full access to the API if you use the API endpoint cards. Cool. So the slash command and kicks off, or slash command flow kicks off when you call the slash encounter command. Going to be in the card, I'm going to be defining a couple keys that come in with all the slash command events. These are non-exhaustive, and there may be other items that you may want to include later. So let's go to this here. Here we have the invoke URL. This is going to be the main thing that you'll need in order to actually call the API. I'm sorry, call the actual workflow. You'll be putting this into Slack itself. That way, Slack knows exactly where to send all the data whenever someone calls a slash command or presses a button within Slack. So the first two cards you see are for generating a response body for the slash command. Slack expects a response for interactivity events within 3 seconds, or else it'll time out and give a small error. The error doesn't mean that you can no longer respond to the flow. It just will show a little timeout error for the user that actually calls the command. So to avoid that happening, just make sure we're going to make sure that any responses are done within 3 seconds. So typically I do this at the beginning. And with the close command, or sorry, the close card here, we send a generic 200 response back. And then we have a body that we also send back, which is, in this case, just generating a counter. The key you want to use for that is just text, txt. We send that as a body saying generating counter. So whenever the user calls a slash command, which I'll show here. Oops. Yeah. So you do an encounter. Like I mentioned before, encounter does have a required argument. In this case, I put a little helper text. You can either choose sword, dagger, or hammer. So we'll start an encounter with a hammer. Oops, it turned off. Might have turned it on. Yep, it's off. back on. Cool. So you can see here it says generate counter. That is the first response that I sent back through the workflow. And next, you'll see we are constructing the required arguments that I mentioned before, sword, dagger, and hammer, constructed as a list. This list gets passed on to this if-else condition. And this if-else condition just basically checks if the weapon is valid, is a valid choice from what you have selected. And as you can see here, if it is a valid event, we basically will instruct an object that contains the user information, the calling user's ID, their name, and the weapon they chose. Put that into a object, stringify that object to a serialized JSON, and then compose the actual body that we're going to send back to the user in order for them to see it. I'll explain this in 1 second. Just give me a second. So with regards to the body, the Slack block kit builder is a really helpful tool to help you get started on actually building these blocks. It looks pretty complicated right now, but if you use the Slack kit builder, it makes it a little bit easier as a format it for you and also tell you if anything's going wrong. So be sure to check that out if you're a little bit confused about how this compose card is set up. You could do this with a bunch of construct cards as well, but since construct cards don't offer nested objects, it's probably much easier to do it in a compose card. I'd recommend using an IDE like VS Code and then copying the JSON you create there into here. The only thing is you will have to drag over any arguments that are being inputted from other cards, such as user ID and username here. Cool. So once we constructed our object, we're going to set the value of some of the objects in here using the object set card. The reason we do that is, let me show you. So you can see the value here is blank. Value is a required attribute for the button actions, which are listed here under elements. So the first button we're going to have is the attack button. Value is empty right now. And the reason we have it like that is because you cannot put an object into value. Value only takes strings. We could put a bunch of strings and try to deserialize the information that way. But it's easier to just serialize the information as a text and then load it into the value card. So we do that using the object set card here. You can see it's finding the path for value of the first button and then putting the value of the body, putting the value of the pickled JSON in there, which is the constructed object with the user's information and the choice that they made. Or choices that they have, sorry. I do this for all 3 buttons. The other 2 buttons are in here as well, under parry and dodge. So you have attack, parry, and dodge. Afterwards, we construct it as a list. This is how Slack expects to handle the object. And basically create an object with a path called attachments, adding attachments as the value of that object. Afterwards, we just handle the response right here using the response URL that's given to you at the beginning. Whenever you get a / command event, these are some of the values that you will see in the body. You could, if you use the Slack / command card, I believe it auto-populates some of these for you as well. But that response URL is going to be a handy URL for just simply calling back as a post and sending the body as the body of the content. Otherwise, the other part of the if else here, if they didn't choose a valid weapon, then we're going to have them get this response saying, please choose sword, dagger, or hammer. And that will be the body instead, as shown by the output of the if else card. This isn't going to parse any user interaction yet. This is simply for generating the content that the user will interact with, which is what we see here. Oops, sorry, see here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and hit hack for now. You could see that dialog shows up and advising us this is probably not a great idea to do because you are attacking when the monster is attacking. So we're going to cancel that for now and show you on the workflows what we're going to do with buttons. The button action event is also another API endpoint card. We are going to use the invoke URL again here to put into the interactivity and shortcuts section. Oops, sorry. Let me talk real quick about the slash command section because I think I forgot about that. So the slash command is where you're going to actually create a slash command. You can create as many as you want as long as the name isn't in use in a channel, a username, or another slash command. In this case, we have the encounter one that I told you about before. We're using the invoke URL that I showed before as well. We have a short description of what it does, and then a usage hint, which you saw earlier, which offers sword, dagger, or hammer. And you can see that a little preview on how that looks here. But once you put that in and you have it in Okta Workflows, you should be good to go to call slash commands. For interactivity and shortcuts, these are going to be for the buttons. You got to turn on interactivity, use the same, uses the invoke URL that you saw for, like you saw for the slash command, but for a different workflow for button actions. So again, that's here. And this one's simpler. You just have that, and that's pretty much it. Any interactivity will now go through this workflow for button actions and other events. So what we're going to do here is the button action event will have a body item called payload, which is a string. So it's already serialized. We have to unserialize it. So we go ahead and do a JSON parse, and it'll parse all of that for us. We expect these body items for this specific flow. You can play around with yourself. There's actually a lot of information there you can parse. But for us, we only care about the user's ID, user's name, and the weapon that they chose. Within each button action, there's also an action ID. This is an optional field that you can populate with anything you want. In my case, I populated with 1, 2, or 3. You can be more descriptive if you want, but it's only really for back-end logic. And again, we also have a response URL, just like with the slash command, that we can use to easily respond to the user. So the first action you can see here, this is the one where we try to attack when the enemy is attacking. The response is you are pummeled to death before you can land your attack. So that is something we didn't want. So we hit cancel it. The second option is going to be using a lookup table. It's going to check the weapon that you chose. And if it's a sword, it'll So this is the response for parrying an attack. So if they chose a sword and they chose to parry the attack, you'll get this response. If dagger, you get this response, and then hammer, you will get this response. And that will be passed on to the output of this card. Lastly, we have dodge. We have the same kind of logic, but with different outcomes for dodging the attack. Next, we're going to take that result, construct an object for text, just like we did for the slash command for generating the encounter, pretty similar. And we are going to send that as a post response back to the response URL. So we can see what that looks like here. Cool. So I'm going to instead try to dodge this attack. Cool. So you dodge the attack and counter for heavy damage. With your flows, you're obviously probably be more involved in or flesh this out a bit more. But you can do a lot with interactivity. So this just gives you a brief idea of how to play around with it and how to use it. And it should be pretty easy to set up if you just download the GitHub flow. But that is pretty much it. Hope you can play around with it. If you need any more help, please ping me on the Mac admins channel. You could find me pretty easily. I have the little Pikachu icon as my profile picture. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Back to you, Max.
Cool. Thanks, Pete. You know what? I'm going to share the link. I know it's in the Zoom in the webinar description. I added your link to GitHub, but I'm going to share it in just a sec. Pete, we have time for one question, and I'm going to click answer live. And the question is, can we create something similar in Microsoft Teams?
I don't have experience with Microsoft Teams API. I imagine you could do something similar. But yeah, I wouldn't be able to say.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Thank you. All right. Thanks again, Pete. And Emily. And I'm going to share a link in just a sec.
Okay, let's get started. Okay, can everybody, can you see everything? Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Emily Wendell. I'm on the product team at Okta on the Workflows platform. We've chatted a few times. You've probably seen me at Octane, seen me at previous workflow community meetups. And so today I'll be going through what's on our Q2 and Q3 roadmap. So first up, have to always flash the slide just to say that like everything that I'm presenting is the state that it is at currently. It may change once it goes to production, and timelines may change as well, but everything that I'm presenting is still in good faith. All right, so first up, we are spending a lot of time securing workflows. So for everybody that's been using RBAC, that's available today, and we have some upper level things with the new roles and like custom controls. We're going to be adding folder roles and connection roles as well. So that way you'll be able to scope down to specific folders and to specific connections. This way everyone won't have access to all of the connections that get created for an org. And they'll be able to actually, you'll be able to continue to lock down access and make sure that only the people who should see things are able to. We're also going to be leveraging our Okta identity governance access request certifications as part of governance for workflows. So for those of you that are already using OIG, you have an opportunity to leverage workflows more for this product and to be able to link the two together more. So that'll be coming in an EA later this quarter. And then we're also working on sensitive data controls. So this has been a big request for a long time, that even though you may put something, you may mark something as like a password in the card itself, it still shows up in clear text and execution history. We want to make sure that that's not the case anymore and that you're actually able to hide any credentials, anything like that. So that'll be coming in Q3. As far as driving adoption, we want to make a better onboarding and conversion process. So we have a lot of things for new users. This may not apply to everybody on the call. You may all be our power users. But for those of you that are still new to workflows, are looking to really sort of understand what you can do with it, we are going to be rolling out some new wizards and templates to help you with that. We're also going to improve our usability. So we've had a lot of requests for being able to collapse cards, to be able to have sort of a little mini map that shows you where you are in the flow, shows you the flow end to end. And then being able to just like have a better UI experience when using workflows. So all of this is coming for a beta in Q3. And if you're interested, there'll be more info on how you can sign up for that once we get closer to it. And then we also are adding inline iterators. So we know that creating helper flows can be cumbersome and that you may not always want to do it or have to go through that entire process. Inline iterators will help you do that within your actual flow, so you don't have to jump to other flows. You don't have to create additional flows to do sort of this more simple logic. So that's coming towards the end of the year. So we'll probably have more updates on these around the Octane timeframe. So a, a shameless plug for that. Oh, okay. So additional things that we're doing around our performance and security. So we've got, execution log streaming. I think that's available as EA right now if a lot of you have signed up or are using it. Um, if not, it will be available to everybody in Q3. And so this just gives you a lot more information into your performance across all of your workflows, and you'll be able to take action when you see things. We also have Execution History Inspector that is getting GA'd this quarter. And that just continues to also give you more information. Like we have heard that like you want to peel back the curtain, you want to see what's happening behind the scenes. Why are things getting throttled? Why are things taking so long? And that's really our goal with these is to give you the tools to troubleshoot and figure out what's going on so you can improve your flows without having to contact support. And then we have indexing for tables. There's been a lot of tables usage over the years, and we know that we need to really improve our performance with it and improve that product. And so that's coming as early access in Q3. And then we've got some new connectors. So we've got Coupa and Splunk. Since I originally did this presentation, we've since shipped Okta ITP and Oracle IAM. Sharefile, Mimecast are still coming. We're also working on an Okta OIG connector, which will be coming in Q3 as well. Okay. And lastly, I have a bonus for all of you. So we are really looking for people who have, used Connector Builder to build a connector, or if you've built any sort of OIN app for your own tenant. Like we don't expect that you've submitted these to the OIN, but just if you've built them in your own environment, we really want to hear about what that process has been like. We're trying to improve it. We're trying to really streamline it. And we can't do that without your help. So there is a research here. It is a paid research. You will get paid if you give your feedback. So please, I will leave this up for a little bit so that you can take a screenshot of it. But I think it'll actually go out as part of the slide bundle that Max sends out later. So don't worry about it if you miss it, but it is something to think about if you've done any of these things. We'd love to get your feedback.
Cool. Yeah, and I'll include the link. Emily, thank you. We have um, two questions now. Let's
Yeah.
see. So one, I'm going to read it. So will RBAC allow non-super admins to edit workflows?
I'll have to get the details on what the changes are. I believe so. Because I think that's kind of, we created the workflows admin role last time. And so that way you don't have to be a super admin to even access workflows. But let me
Yeah, I
Let me
think,
find out and we can reply back.
yeah, I mean, I think you can even do it today, right? I mean,
Mhm.
you can, okay, yeah,
Yeah. So I think, yeah, I think that's part of the initial changes that went out. So if you're not using RBAC today, my advice would be go check it out. It should be available for you for early access.
got it. Cool, thank you. There's one more. So, any chance of, let me click, any chance of increasing 300, 3,500 return row limit for table search card? So before you answer, sorry, so we do have a template that shows how to, like it's a recursion template that allows you to get more rows. But Emily, yeah, I will let you answer the question if you, yeah.
I haven't heard anything about that. I'll ask Jordan and see what I can find out. Um,
All right.
but I think it's more around just, yeah, I've advised to use the template and then see like what kind of the details with the performance increases.
Got it. Thank you. Yeah, and I will send I'll send a link in chat in just a sec to the template. So it's one of the sort of community templates that we posted on the forum.
Mm,
Okay, let's do it. Let's take one more question, and I'm
yeah.
going to click live here. Are there any plans for workload version control? For example, I want to roll back the recent workload changes or be able to track changes.
Yes, there are. That's something that's in progress. And you will hear more probably around Octane.
All
So
right, awesome.
we're saving our big things for our conference.
Very cool.
So, but yeah, I think Max, we usually have another one of these around Octane, so we'll be able to share a lot more of those details then.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Um, all right. Um, Michele,
Hey everyone, let me see if I can share the screen.
not yet.
Hi, coming in. Hi.
Yes, now we can.
Hi, thank you very much. So hi everyone, my name is Michele Ferrari. I'm part of a technical account manager team. We are basically the technical engineer or engineer resource for the customer success manager or customer success executive. And we partner with our customer to making sure they use the very best our product or do review or architectural review. So you may have already worked with one of our team members. Today we are covering anything as a source. So let's start talking about a little bit about lifecycle management, right? Which I believe you may be already familiar with. So your organization may use a combination of both cloud and on-premises system, where it is like a HR system like Workday and PeopleSoft, or application like Salesforce, Office 365, or directories like AD or LDAP, right? So the Okta's architecture, what it does, it helps you to bring all of this system together to automate the access decision based on your joiner, mover, or leaver processes. All of these decisions are triggered of a place where your user identity data is sourced, like for example your HR system, and we do this through what we call the out-of-the-box integration with system like again Workday, SuccessFactors, probably most familiar one, and the other free system you see here in the slide as well. And additionally, we have a tooling like our on-premises provisioning agent or the CSV directory to connect to on-premises system as well as part of our built-in integration. And this is good, right? This is what we our customer has been using to import data or provision data from external system into Okta. But what happened next? So one of the feedback we received, while working with our customer was that in some cases, customer require more advanced functionality to, for example, increase architectural complexity, and our built-in or integration were not enough to fulfill the use case there. So what we did was introducing anything as a source, which in the documentation sometimes is referred to XaaS, like XaaS, but what it means is basically anything as a source. That's the real name. Anything as a source, it provides the organization with ability to source identity from any source to your Okta org. So there is no requirement to use an application to do it. It can be really anything. It can be you built your client to import the data and then pass the data using anything as a source into Okta, or the second case will be to use Okta Workflow, which is what we are going to demo today. A very high level, what's happening is that you have your customer identity source, which is basically where you have your identity, and then you're going to import the data into Okta Workflow, and then Okta Workflow is going to use anything as a source. Some specific API we're going to show today to import the user into Okta in a very fast way, in a very complete way, and also giving you a lot of flexibility on how the data are being imported or elaborated. And then you can, of course, import you can monitor the import from our reporting. Sorry, just close this one. There we go. So this is pretty much the anything as a source process. So there are two types of bulk load requests. One is called the bulk upsert, which is insert or update user profile in the bulk load request, and the other one is called the bulk delete, which is used for deactivate the user profile in the bulk load request. You can load up to 200 kilobytes of data in a single bulk load, which is approximately 200 user profile. If you want to load more, you can load more data in the same session, and it's usually up to 50 requests. So if you do the math, it's kind of 10,000 user per session. Then you can create another session, but you have to close and create another one. So if we want to take a look at the diagram here, which is available in our documentation, you see here, which basically what we do, we just create an import session. And once we create the import session, we get the data and we start importing the data using the bulk insert or bulk delete operation, depending if you want to insert or update or delete a user. And once we are ready, so the data are ready to go, once we're ready to go, we just trigger. And the trigger is basically when the real import is happening, right? So the step here is the trigger. We trigger whatever we have built, and then Okta start importing the user inside the UD, right? And then at the same time, you can monitor how it's doing the session, is still working, has been completed, or if you had any error, right? But this is basically the fourth step of anything as a source, right? So let's jump now to the demo. There are a bunch of flow already available from where you can start. What I did, I built a simple one where is getting the data from Enter ID, because it can be really anything, right? It doesn't really matter. So we start having a schedule import, or you can schedule that whatever you want. You can use whatever other card to trigger that. That doesn't really matter. The first thing we have to do is basically listing import session, because as I said, you can only have one session at the time. So you need to know if there is another session which is was created and maybe was not closed. So before starting, you always want to see if there is a session that has to be closed. If there is, we check for the returning on a length of a session, and if it's greater than or equal to 1, we're going to call an helper flow, which is just going to basically close the session, right? So if we take a look at here, it's simply going to close the session which was found open using a card delete import session. So it's nothing very super complicated. Everything is available as a workflow card. The next step is basically I'm going to import the data from my external data source. In this case, I'm using Enter ID. Since I have many users in Enter ID, I'm going to filter the user per department. So I'm going just to ask to retrieve the user that has the department as a cloud, right? So if I do a quick test here on the card, you see that basically I will have 3 users coming back, right? I have Franco, and then I think I have Mario, and then I have Luca, right? These are the 3 guys going to come back. After you do that, I need to adjust the information which are coming back from my sources to be compatible with what the anything as a source is expecting. Right. So to do that, I'm calling another helper flow, and just going to close this one. This helper flow. Let me open over here. What it's going to do is going to get the data which are coming from Enter-ID, and it's going to construct an object, which is conformed to compliant to what the anything as a source expected. So I'm going to extract the user principal name, given name, surname, mobile phone, department, and if the account is enabled, constructing a job and return all of this object into the caller, right? Before over here. When I do that, I want to make sure I'm only going to import the account that are enabled. So I have like a very simple filter which say, hey, I want to only to get the account which are really enabled, and also the account that are disabled, because I also want to do a delete operation, a bool delete operation. After that, I'm going to check the list if it's like contain any user, because if it doesn't, there is no reason to continue, because there is no user to be imported. And they do the same thing for the deactivated users, so the user that has are not active. After I do that, I'm going to create the import session. So I'm going to prepare my system to receive the data. And then, depending on the operation you have to do, like in the example, I'm checking if there is any data to update or import. I'm going to call the bulk user import card. The bulk user import card has an operation which differentiates between the create and update and the delete. In this case, I'm doing the update, so the operation will be create and update. So in case there are some users to import, I'm going to execute this card, and this card is going to attach to the ID of the session, right? And it's going to start import the user. I do the same things for the activated user. So I have an if else condition. If there is any user which was coming back from Enter-ID which was not activated, I'm going to deactivate that user. Right? And just going to pass the user that I have deactivated, which comes from the object that was returned by the helper flow. Right? After I do that, my system is ready to go. I do one extra check to read the import session. I do this one because with the read import session, depending on the output, I can understand if any user work being loaded to be imported or deleted. Because if that happens, the status will be in progress. So it means that there is something to do. If it is in progress, I'm going to finally trigger the import session, which is basically what start the engine, and I tell Okta to start processing all the data I loaded in the session. Right. So now we're going to give a little try to this one here. So we're going to do a run, and we're going to follow along. So as you can see, we got the free user I was talking about before, and then we have constructed our object, which is basically coming back here, which is the format that anything as a source is expecting, with the data I construct in the object. And then I went to check whatever user was active or not active, and whatever user was active has been loaded to be to import it. Whatever user was not active was being imported to be deactivated. If you see in the import here, you see that I only have a 2 item which has been imported. The reason why is because I only have 2 users which are active. Sorry, I was showing the inactive one, which is Mr. Franco here, and the active one was are the other 2 basically users, right? So if we take a look at the from an Enter-ID perspective, you see that basically Franco is not enabled, right? That's why it's coming back as not enabled. and the other two are basically enabled. All right. So if we take a look at the Okta console over here, we can also monitor the import of anything as a source, right? So in import monitoring, and we see that basically this resulted in two users being imported. If you take a look at Okta, you will probably see that there are two users that are being created. Right? I have a group rule, which whatever user as a department as a cloud is adding the user into this group, which this is the two users that have been imported from anything as a source, because as you see, these are exactly the same user, right? You have here and you have here, right? And you don't have a one which is disabled because we don't want it. And we basically, if it was existing in Okta, we were deleting. If not, we didn't do anything. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the how anything as a source works. So to recap here, basically what we did, it was to configure the custom identity source app in Okta admin. So you have to, there is an application for anything as a source, you have to add, which is in the OIN. Once you do that, you have to connect the application to Workflow. If you use Workflow, it is out of the box. There's not much you have to do. If you use like a custom code, there is a little bit more you have to do to authorize it to call Okta using that specific app. Also, the integration with client to the XaaS API is basically done from the Workflow class, so there's not much to do over there. It's pretty straightforward if you use Workflow. And that's triggering LCM event and enable user synchronization. You can trigger this workflow whenever you require, you want. But again, it's pretty straightforward to trigger a workflow depending on condition or event you want, and then you have a possibility to monitor the import. And as last thing I want to show you, this is the application you have to import to get started. This vision here, AD as a source, which comes from the OIN, is what you need to do in order to integrate anything as a source with Workflow. And that's pretty much it.
Cool, awesome. Thank you, Michele. We have about 30 seconds, but there's one question I'm going to ask you. Let me click answer live. So the question is, any plans for being able to source groups from anything as a source import? Do you know?
Yeah, that's a good question, which our customer has. I haven't heard about that group. Are very sometimes very critical and very specific on the web, because there are in intraday there are different type of group. And I don't even expect a lot of groups to be imported, so it may still be possible to use the standard API for group and not part of anything. So anything as a source was more designed for huge data for coming from respectively to users, right? But yeah, I haven't heard about anything about group. My customers still use a standard API to process groups.
Got it. Cool. All right. Thank you, Michele. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Yeah. All right. Ajay.
Hi, I'm Ajay Seetharam, Principal Solution Architect here at Okta. So I'm going to start by sharing something that we're very excited about here at Okta. So at the beginning of 2025, we entered into a partnership with the McLaren Racing. And really, if you think about it, we're able to secure the digital experience of 500 million fans, partners, and employees. You'll notice on this really cool car, we have the Okta logo now. So if you think about it, Workflows is kind of like this car. There's product innovation that Emily and team put into building workflows and making it available so that you're able to accomplish complex use cases. Every now and then, though, you could add a little boost. And that's where we can leverage OpenAI with Okta Workflows. We are seeing OpenAI connectors being deployed by customers in production. And so if you've started thinking about how AI fits into your company and to improve processes and thinking specifically about OpenAI, we'd love to hear from you. So feel free to put things into a chat or reaching out directly. For those that have been following some of my previous sessions, uh, I covered how OpenAI could be used sort of as a general text in, text out interface and help answer questions, be able to use OpenAI for summarization with retrieval augmented generative AI. And today, what I'm going to cover is how we can use this new feature of OpenAI, which is around tools and code assistance in particular, code interpreter. The example that I'm going to use is from Oracle Fusion Applications. This is a slightly older release, but I thought it was a good illustrative example of something that we can't really do in Okta Workflows natively, where we have to create two CSV files and then zip the content and send the base 64 as a part of the JSON. So in order to do this, we will leverage OpenAI's assistance. And there are really different types of tools that assistance supports today. But the one that I'm going to focus on is the code interpreter. So what I did was look at OpenAI's documentation, and it's really simple. Conceptually, there's an assistant. You create this assistant, give it some Python code, right? That's the tool. Create a thread, add the user's message and the assistant's message, and then create a run, and OpenAI takes care of executing that Python code and returning the result. So let's step through that. We create the prompt. And in fact, I actually used a little generative AI to help me with that Python code snippet. So we prepared the tool. We have the user prompt, which is, go create me the zip file with 2 data sets. And each of these data sets must be put into a respective file called with a CSV extension, or with a .dat extension in this case. So we go ahead and create the assistant. You can see that's one call to OpenAI. Then we take the user prompt. This is creating that thread. And then once we have that thread ID, we can go ahead and get the run so that we can have the Python code executed and return us the file content. And that's about it. So it's very, very elegant in terms of a solution. Now, for those of you who are thinking about, maybe we can actually have the Python code go and use some encryption libraries. Not throwing out any ideas there, but OpenAI does have guardrails around what that Python code can do. But it's a really easy way to turbocharge your workflows with that little bit of a boost from Python code. So thank you, and back to you, Max.
All right, thank you, Ajay. Very good. This was wonderful. We have maybe 1 or 2 minutes left. So if you folks have any questions, please type them in the chat or in the Q&A. But I want to thank the speakers, Pete, Emily, Michele, Ajay. This was wonderful. Thank you. And I also want to thank all the attendees. Thank you for coming today. Again, I'll send all the links, all the resources in an email with the recording tomorrow. I also shared my email, so if you have questions, again, after the session, you can contact me directly. Here, I'll share this. Again, yeah, I don't see any questions, so we can end. Again, thanks everyone, and then yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.